Good to go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Growing the Game with VolleySLIDE webinar. This is the first in our series, so you are part of a very, very select crew. And wherever you're watching around the world, whether it's with me in London or with John in Belize, of all places, we're delighted to have your company. Our guest speakers, our keynote speakers today will be Matt Rogers and John Kessel, both with decades of experience in getting many people involved in this game that we all love so much, from the beginners to the elites. So today we are all going to learn together. If I can just check, you're welcome to leave your cameras on, but please mute your microphones until the Q&A session at the end. If you do have any questions, there are no silly questions. We've got two guys here who would love to share their knowledge with you and help you in any way that they can. But before that, it is presentation time. Matt Rogers, the floor is yours.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Dave. Good to be here. Good to see so many familiar faces and some new ones. This very much is focused on the grassroots end of volleyball and sitting volleyball. It's a passion of mine, and by being here, I am only assuming that it's a passion for you as well. VolleySLIDE is a thing, if I'm honest, that has grown and grown. I never thought it would kind of be what it is today. And it's kind of now a name that has just taken on a bit of a meaning, I guess, of kind of the grassroots end of sitting volleyball. As I said, I'm here with John. John's someone who I had the pleasure of asking to join me on this webinar whilst we were bouncing on the back seat of a bus in Tanzania. Genuinely, that was the way it worked. He agreed straight away, so it's great to have him with us. The fact that he's got 30 coaches and interested people from Belize with him as well as an added value. So brilliant to have you with us, John. We're going to go through a few different things. There's quite a bit that I would say is kind of things I've discovered, things I've picked up over time. Starting with a map. So this is obviously all about sitting volleyball. We've got here countries in green, and those are the World ParaVolley members. So that is not the countries that are playing. There is more than that playing. These are the countries that have signed up to membership. If we were to add the countries that are playing, you could add on maybe another 10, 15 countries, something like that. But you'll still see that there is a vast majority of the world in terms of country numbers that are not playing sitting volleyball and are not World ParaVolley members. And this is the bit that really kind of gets me excited, the ability to spread the sport to new countries, new regions. The kind of mission of VolleySLIDE is quite simple. It's to support the growth of sitting volleyball and provide resources. So provide things that can help people that are either focusing on the inclusive side of it, so people playing together, disabled or not, but also the accessible side of it. The slide notion is kind of the 5 things that I believe to be true about sitting volleyball. So firstly, it's simple. It's relatively simple, particularly for an adaptive Paralympic disability sport. The amount of equipment you need is quite limited. You only actually really need a ball and some kind of net or divide. The biggest bit of feedback I get from players when they play it for the first time is this sense of freedom, particularly those that have a disability who maybe come out of a wheelchair or take a prosthetic off to play. So that liberation, that freedom feeling, again, really big thing that comes through with sitting volleyball. There's that inclusive bit. So the fact that at club level, and to some extent in wider competitions, people living with a disability or an impairment can actually play along able-bodied players. And I was quoted recently on a video saying that the main reason why I love sitting volleyball is because it's the only form of volleyball I can play with my wife. So my wife was a Paralympic athlete. That's one of the motivations that I've got behind everything that I'm doing. And sitting volleyball is the one form of volleyball that we can play together. So yeah, love that about the sport. It's also different, very different. You sit on the floor and slide around on your buttocks. There's not many sports that do that. Crowd football is one I can remember from school. I don't know if anyone else has played that, where you try and play football, but you're on all fours. But generally, it's one of the very few sports that you can sit on the floor and still have a lot of fun. And then that last bit is enjoyable, and that's where the slide comes from. But the name itself, if I'm honest, comes from a chocolate company. So prior to London 2012, I was doing a load of stuff with companies, and companies absolutely love sitting volleyball. It's a great leveler. There was a chocolate company, and I ended up doing it with the people that were responsible for making new chocolate bars for Cadbury's, this quite large company over in England. And I said to them, if you had to do something to sitting volleyball, if you had to try and change it so that it would grow and expand quicker, reach more people, what would you do? And they said, well, you need a name. You need a name that reflects the sport. Sitting volleyball implies still, sedentary, not moving. But the reality is that when the ball's in play, you're constantly moving. So that's where this slide element comes from. VolleySLIDE is a name they came up with. And then obviously we've put these words alongside it. And the reality is, and I never thought I'd be doing a webinar with this image, but this is what it is. This is how we all start. As children, we do start scooting around the floor. Yeah, before we can walk, there's crawling, and kind of before there's crawling, there is this kind of bum shuffling. And even better than that, one of the first fun activities that we do that you could say is a little bit like sport is keeping a balloon in the air. And this is where I think the actual passion and interest for anyone that tries sitting volleyball comes from. It's things they're familiar with. Sliding around on the floor, which they've done from being 1 year old, and keeping a balloon off the floor, which is one of the first bits of fun kind of games that you play as a child. That's Bluey, by the way, who currently surrounds my life in many ways. This next thing is something that I kind of firmly believe, and I don't think that everyone kind of buys into it, maybe as much as they could. The circle of sport development, because quite simply, I believe coaches drive sport development. And I think that is fundamentally the biggest factor that will affect how big, strong, powerful, etc. a sport will get in a certain region. The reality is coaches will find players, players make a team. Once you've got those players, they seek competition. Once you've got competition, those events bring more exposure. And as you get more exposure, this leads to more teams. So it all starts with that coach wanting to kind of get a group together, enter a competition. That competition will bring awareness, and then it just goes on again in a circle motion. And I absolutely love this quote about sitting volleyball because there isn't really a way to explain it. This is something that Ivan said to me. Ivan's a player for Croatia, done a load of stuff with World ParaVolley. He said, people always ask me about sitting volleyball, and it's always hard to explain. It's like trying to explain the taste of strawberry. You can't, you just got to try it. And that's the reality of sitting volleyball. We can try and explain it. We can try and put it into words, but until you're sat on the floor with a volleyball flying around faster than you've probably experienced before, you won't actually fully get it. So I think that's quite a nice little analogy of the reality here is we just want people to sit down. We want them to sit down and try and play. And what is growth in terms of World ParaVolley's view of kind of sitting volleyball? The aim here is that we have more, that we have bigger, that we have better. Got some late joiners, welcome. So more players, coaches and teams playing more often at a higher level. That's the kind of general aim. But for me, the most important one is that first one, more players, coaches and teams. And this is where if we can hit more countries, that's the absolute dream. So in terms of growth principles, every country is at a different point. And this is what I experience through VolleySLIDE. We have a load of people contact about different questions, different things, asking, you know, where can I find that, etc. And the biggest reality that I kind of come to is every country is at a different point with different needs. Every country needs something different for the next step in their own evolution. I also am amazed at the different motivations, because sometimes it is just to play, sometimes it's to access different things, sometimes it's just to get a group together and do something different, but the motivation is quite different from group to group. And I'm a firm believer, whilst coaches will drive that development, the off-court situation is the foundation. Having an organization, a group of people behind that coach is one of the key things to make that sustainable. And the reality is someone is needed on the ground. Every country that has got started in recent years at sitting volleyball, there's usually one person, which is the kind of linchpin, the mover and shaker, as I call them with VolleySLIDE, the person that has made it all happen, the person that keeps it going, the person that makes sure that momentum does not stop. Yeah, needs that person on the ground. And it's got to be sustainable, and it is a combined effort. Yeah, so you've got that person, but it's also the others that are around them that are going to help as well. But if we come back to the sport, it's the sport that does the hard work. Yeah, the sport is the thing that everyone tries, likes, is amazed by, is intrigued by, and wants to give it a go and potentially start it in a new region. And this is where the governance comes in. And this is the bit that is the legal, the requirements, the administration, the bit that does have to be sorted before we can get all those players playing. So in a new country, what we're trying to do, and this is what we're going to hopefully do in some new countries coming up, is we're trying to get working groups together, which are a mix between people on the ground in those countries, but also people who are kind of from the World Federation or neighboring countries that have got an interest as well. A key thing is who is responsible and for what. Yeah, who is responsible and for what. Having those responsibilities fixed can go a long way in terms of speeding things up. Once you've got that group and you've got those responsibilities set, it's then about agreeing a plan. And the key thing in that is those timelines and deadlines. And there's a lot of countries that say to me, can we run a level 1 course? Can we do a level 2 course? And I get really excited. And then they say to me, can we do it next month? And I'm like, no, it takes a little bit longer than that, particularly with our new e-learning and practical setup. The e-learning is there on our level 1 and level 2 courses now to really try and make sure there is a foundation of knowledge before we get to the practical. We don't want the e-learning to put people off. We want the e-learning to be a really good first step into understanding what is happening and what needs to happen. And this is where some countries are starting to develop constitutions, and that will eventually lead them to that World ParaVolley membership. There's also a lot of work that could be done, I think, and this is an area that we're trying to look at more and more, where we get kind of cross-organization collaboration. So National Federation, National Paralympic Committee, World ParaVolley, Zonal Association. And as I said, when we start to try and go out into even kind of more wider countries, countries that maybe don't have so much activity, it really is going to be a joint approach. Onto the environment, and this I think is a big one, because the reality is that as much as people will love sitting volleyball, finding people that will want to play regularly, that's the bigger challenge. Yeah, nearly everyone that tries it will like that first experience. How many of those as a percentage want to do it on a weekly, maybe even more regular basis? Obviously more of a challenge. And in particular, when it comes to finding players that could classify, could play internationally, so have an impairment of some kind, this is where being near a mass population is one of the kind of big things that I always push. Try and get your activity close to that mass population. If you've got access to volleyball coaches, so people that have practical experience of volleyball, so we're not talking about sitting volleyball, but practical experience of volleyball, that's another big advantage. Yeah, it can be a big fast track if you've got coaches that have already got experience of volleyball. We're doing quite a lot of work at the moment, hoping to link in with FIVB as well around transitioning. What does it take to transition from someone who knows volleyball into someone who's completely comfortable with sitting volleyball? It's also really important to set up a recruiter network for players. So yes, a coach can go out and find players. Yes, a coach maybe knows some players and can bring in different people at different times. But the biggest success we see with any club or any federation is when there is a network of people constantly suggesting, pushing, encouraging people to go and give it a try. Yeah, go and try sitting volleyball. You'd be great at it. And those could be physiotherapists, those could be people working in other sports, but that recruiter network is a big part of it. Neighboring countries for competition. If we go back to that map, we have a really good spread of people that play sitting volleyball. There are, though, gaps. And where there is a neighbour that is already active, that could be a big support to someone who wants to start with sitting volleyball. And the reality is that a big part of the experience, when we talk about the environment for sitting volleyball, is the floor. Yeah, it's lovely to play on a sports hall floor. If you take the picture in the back of John's screen that you can't get rid of, that kind of floor, an amazing experience to play sitting volleyball on there, but that doesn't exist in every country, doesn't exist in every city that we want to play in. And this is where we've got to be really realistic. What kind of floor is suitable? What kind of floor is acceptable? How do we keep it safe? When we play on wood, what are the dangers of playing on wood? Is there a risk of splinters? Is there a risk of the wood moving in any way? And also then, how do we do the court markings? If we don't have a sports hall, how do we do the court markings? Because when we do volleyball in countries that don't have the facilities, quite often we use chalk. But if we do that with sitting volleyball, quite quickly the bottoms are going to become white and the court markings are going to disappear. A big thing as well is that divide. And this is something that I've been kind of pushing, and I know that John's been pushing it as well. We don't always need, at the start point of any kind of sitting volleyball experience, it doesn't need to look like a Paralympic court. Yeah, even if we just start with a rope, that rope, as long as it's kind of obvious, bright color, maybe a little bit thicker, that can be a really good divide. And it's a bit like that jumpers for goalposts concept that exists in football. So football, soccer, if you're from North America, very much one of those things that kind of succeeds because it's so simple. They throw down goalposts as jumpers, and then they can start playing. And that's, for us, the equivalent is that net that you just string across between two trees. So that rope initially, thick, bright if possible. Badminton nets work really well. They're also very easy to travel with, so small, light badminton nets. Use existing fixings, so what is there that you could use? Fixings on the floor, fixings on the wall, all those kind of things that just speed it up. You don't need to install anything. Sitting volleyball is different from volleyball in the sense that you can use freestanding weighted systems. When you want to play standing volleyball, those could be a little bit of a danger, particularly when you think about the pressure of the kind of players running into it or the kind of powerful serves hitting the net. But for sittings, weighted systems are absolutely okay if they're done right. Secure and safe, as always, the most important thing for that divide. Key thing, just get them playing. Yeah, get them playing, get them having fun. Onto the ball. I can remember my experience of volleyball at school. I'm hoping it's different to yours, because my experience was we all played with a very heavy ball. It kind of hurt quite a lot. Most people gave up very quickly. I think volleyballs have come on a long way, probably from back then. You've got on the screen here a range of balls, starting on the left side with the kind of actual Paralympic ball, kind of going through to one of those mega balls, which we use quite a lot in Tanzania. The reality is the bigger and lighter the ball, the slower it goes through the air. And if it goes through the air slower, that is only going to help. Yeah, so my advice when it comes to the ball is use a ball that's going to bring the smiles. Yeah, if you can get people playing and having fun, it doesn't really matter what ball you're using. The most important thing is that they are having fun. And as players get better, they will want to play with a ball that is closer to the Paralympic ball. They will want that challenge. But when they're just starting out, the most important thing is the ball gives them the opportunity to explore the sport. What I would avoid, and this is where we go back to the picture of the child with the balloon, is you want to make sure that you've got a ball that has some kind of true flight. You don't want a ball that kind of drifts around in the winds that players start chasing. The reality is it needs to be heavy enough so you do get some kind of true flight through the air. So a regular balloon, probably too light, but this one here, if you just look where the mouse is, that kind of ball with a balloon in it kind of brings it then down to a better weight so it can fly through the air. There's also a big difference between training and a game. So obviously you've got to think about your ball in terms of your participants, but also training and the game scenario. The on-court approach. And a lot of this, I have to say, comes from my experiences of working with John. So warm, welcoming and friendly, include, make sure whoever comes through that door, you find a way to get them involved. Get them sat and playing ASAP. Yeah, one of those things. As soon as they're in, as soon as they're comfortable, throw them a ball, get them moving, get them trying. There's a lot of coaches that will teach them all the kind of peppering, the volley and digging. They'll teach all that kind of stuff first. Kind of the big thing is make them have fun. And if you think about your own volleyball experiences, one of the most exciting bits of any volleyball game or any training is the spike. So spike first, more smiles. Yeah, the most important thing is they kind of do those things that they recognize, because it could be that they've only really heard a little bit about volleyball. And the bit they've probably heard is about spiking and that part of the game. So yeah, spike first, get them playing as early as possible, and chase those smiles per hour. Yeah, this is a phrase that comes directly from John. If you can get a good smiles per hour rate, then it's a very good session. Yeah, you want as many smiles as possible in your session. Celebrate successes, absolutely. If someone does something they've not done before, make sure they know about it, make sure everyone else knows about it. That will build that feeling of achievement. And the last one, this is definitely stolen from John as well. Never be someone's last volleyball coach. Yeah, so when you're on that court working with someone, you don't want to be the last volleyball coach they ever experience. Learning process. John, I don't know, there's a few things coming up here that maybe it'd be good for them to hear from you. So these are kind of mottos that we've built into the level 1 and level 2 course. If I just bring them all up, John, and you're able to turn on your microphone. Oh. It was working before.
There
we go.
Can you hear? You can hear me now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
All right. Well, I mean, the short of it is that Matt has captured a lot of awesome stuff. And generally speaking, the game teaches the game. I'm here in Belize with all these great coaches, and we talked about from 1930 to 1996 how many beach volleyball coaches were there around the world, and essentially it was zero until it became an Olympic sport, and then we have all these coaches. So the bottom line about the game training the brain is, because there's no such thing as muscle memory. We've talked here about how drills are the drugs of coaches, and some of them understand how in many of the top programs in the US, including our national men and women's programs, sitting, beach, and indoor, that the number of teams who are doing drills, the number of drills is around 10 or less that the national teams use. And that way they get to do things like train in reality, which is a big part of it, and not from in front of the net, but over the net, because that is the reality. The ball comes over the net on the serve, and it goes over the net on the third hit. And when you stand in front of it and ignore it, you're practicing for practice and not for performance. So some of the other things he's put up here, I think are pretty special. The reading is the #1 skill, absolutely. And it's what makes the elite players so elite in sitting volleyball. I think the same way training ugly, you can also say to especially a newer coach that you need to be comfortable with the ugly. You need to be comfortable with the chaos, because it's gonna be chaotic. And the whole idea of training the whole person rather than the player ties into this connect before you correct. You want to be tied into the athlete, to the whole player, and each of the player's uniquenesses, so you can be coaching them beyond what is going on. I'm doing a big project in India with Volleyball for Life and a few other things, and that whole group is really talking more about empowering girls, helping them be safe, helping them be leaders, and we're also doing volleyball, and a lot of sitting volleyball can be that way. I took a couple notes, Matt, and I just wanted to share a quick couple notes and then get back to you. When you say use existing things on the wall, what we want to say too is that if you drill an eye bolt in at 11 feet on any wall, or have a pole, and then you have an eye bolt in on the ground, and you tie a rope from that eye bolt way high all the way down to the ground, that becomes your universal standard that you can tie paracord, badminton nets on, and run a lengthwise quite a ways with the paracord. But adjusting it up and down lets you go from regular boys volleyball, men's volleyball, down to girls, down to badminton height, or then down to volleyball, pickleball, sitting volleyball height. And all you're doing is sliding the rope with a trucker knot up and down the rope that's on the wall. I also do this sitting volleyball sometimes on tennis courts, and they're level, they're safe, they trap the ball, because I would add corralling the ball is a pretty important part of the learning process, so that you're not having to get up and chase the ball into the corner, but corral the balls in some ways. We use deer netting when we're in Philippines on these keep the ball flying projects. This corralling of the ball, even with other kids. So you'd rather have them playing, but if there's too many kids, they can be the corrallers themselves, so that they stay time on task. Matt very creatively helped me run a sitting volleyball net system and a kids system that we caught by drone when we were in Tanzania, from one rugby post to another rugby post. And I don't know, I'm going to say that's 100 meters. And we had 100+ kids playing sitting and playing the standing game. And all we did was slide the rope down the pole like you would slide it down a rope on the wall if you did it that way. And the only thing that broke them away from the joy of playing sitting volleyball and laughing and everything was the drone that flew over, and all the kids wanted to look at the drone and they stopped playing sitting volleyball. So I also saw that balloon, Matt, and one of the most intense matches that I ever saw, I did at the Wounded Warrior Games preparation, was when the UK team came, and I did double balloon. The ball is only dead if you can't bring the second ball back to life game. So both sides serve at the same time, a balloon, and then if the ball hits the floor and they can bring it back to the serving and serve it before the other balloon hits the floor or ball, the game continues. And one point with the UK team lasted 5 minutes. And at the end, the coach goes, I've never seen them work so hard. They've never been so tired, because they played for 5 minutes without taking a break. And these ideas of using balloons or slower balls, I have, Matt, that Omnikin ball here that I talked about is pretty cool. And the last thing I'm going to say is, Matt kind of mentioned it, but this idea of no subs, I think, is important in children's volleyball and sitting volleyball, in community volleyball, where rather than play 6-on-6 officially and have subs, especially in the sitting game, if you have 8-on-8 or 9-on-9 sitting on the court, the ball keeps flying even more, that FIVB model of keep the ball flying. And nobody is sitting out. They're all being part of the team, not subbing out like is tradition. So I like flooding the court with more people rather than making them be subs at the grassroots, at the corporate level, like you're talking about the chocolate bar. For the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee programs I've done over 25, 30 years, the number one experience of volleyball is volleyball, and it's sitting volleyball that the corporations love. And I think it's because the CEO and the secretary get kind of leveled out. They know, both might know volleyball like the hamburgers are done volleyball, but at the same time, they're having this joy that is like tasting a strawberry. So thanks for letting me ramble, and we're back to learning from you guys.
Brilliant. Thanks, John. Those rugby posts, by the way, were made of bamboo. That's what made it even more amazing. We did put it up and wonder how much tension we could give, but they held, and a lot of children had a lot of fun. Okay. This was an image we set up whilst we were away in Tanzania. So this here is kind of, for me, the message of development. So you've got the external expert, John, wearing some very fashionable shorts. You've then got the local kind of guru, if you like, the one that has done the courses, has the knowledge about volleyball. And then you've got all of their kind of young up and coming coaches. And we could have had this same photo, but with hundreds of kids. We could have had it with 20 of the coaches in the white shirts, because this is the transfer of knowledge. This is John, who's been developing and pushing volleyball for well over 50 years. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. That gives away a little bit of his age. Then you've got the people on the ground, the people that know him, have contact with him, spend the time to kind of make sure they've got it right. So that's Alfred with the hat there. Then you've got those local young coaches, and you've got the children that impact. And I think this is a lovely visual image that you could multiply up. And like I said, in reality, we could have had hundreds of children on the far right side. Just wanted to touch very quickly on some of the main barriers. So I get quite a lot of messages through to VolleySLIDE all about, you know, I've got a problem, how can I do this? I can't get that to work, etc., etc. And these are the common barriers for development. These are the things that most often people will say to me is an issue. So barrier one, the mover and shaker. If there's no interest in a region, it is very, very hard. Yeah, and there has to be someone there constantly pushing, asking, talking, motivating, bringing people together. So you do need that person on the ground. But it can start with just that one person. They have to be motivated with a purpose. What is their goal? Is their goal just to create a team, have a bit of fun, play volleyball with their wife? Whatever it is, whatever that reason is, there has to be a driving reason. And there is a range of case studies, and this is the Mover and Shaker series that are on the World ParaVolley website, of people that have done this. I think there's even a couple in the call. And we've just tried to profile, really, what is it that's behind them? What is it that pushes them? Because every region, every country does need this mover and shaker. The next one, where to play. This is probably the biggest question I get. I get kind of sent photos of, can we play here? And it's quite hard to see, if I'm honest, from a photo. But the reality is, you don't need a full court to start, and you don't even need to look at the rules. The most important thing is you get people sat on the floor, you get people playing with something that bounces off their body, and you start to add different things to make it a little bit more fun. It doesn't really even need to be the right size. The main thing is it's not too big, because that means the rallies are going to be very short, and not too small, because that then means everyone's going to be bumping into each other. The most important thing is it is just safe flooring. In terms of a divide, like I said, a rope, absolutely fine to begin with. Barrier 3, this is kind of the one that happens after countries have been playing for a little bit of time, is they kind of come back and say, we don't have enough disabled players. The reality is, unless you're trying to get a team to go to an international competition, this isn't a problem. Yeah, the most important thing, and this is what we keep pushing with the inclusiveness, is anyone that wants to play can pretty much just get involved and give it a try. The only real requirement is that they're able to sit on the floor unaided. But saying that, I still get sent photos, particularly there's a group in France that I'm regularly seeing, someone going around to elderly people's houses, and you'll get them playing some kind of volleyball, sat in a chair, and it's fascinating to see. It's amazing to see. And the smiles on those faces are incredible, because the reality is they couldn't play volleyball standing up. You know, they're at a point in their life where physically that would be a challenge, but they still are able to move their arms and their hands so they can sit in the chairs and play. So again, it's all got to be relative to what it is you're trying to do. Welcome anyone and everyone, and just adapt accordingly. If there's someone that maybe needs to stay in a chair, maybe they could play a certain position, all sorts of things that you could do to get everyone involved. People do play for different reasons. So just find something that motivates them to try and get them involved. Barrier 4, this I find quite an interesting one. And this is usually a concern of coaches, let's say, that are trying to get people started. There's this theory that beginners struggle. And the reality is that if you're trying to get them to play actual proper sitting volleyball, yes, any beginner is probably going to struggle. But a bit like riding a bike or riding a horse or going to do some winter sports, you're never going to go straight to the kind of extreme of the top end of the game. You're actually going to start building up. So don't worry about changing the rules, changing the ball, catching the first touch. Tomorrow I'm doing a sports day and I've got at some point 50 kids. They've never done volleyball before. If we try and play a game where they've got to actually play the first contact, the rallies will last one contact. So what we'll probably do for quite a lot of it is talk about the flow of the game, maybe get a catch in on the first touch so they can start to try and build the rallies, and then eventually we get more spikes, that bit that everyone enjoys. A smaller court to player ratio, I think, is quite a big thing as well. Making it so that you don't have to cover the ground. You haven't got so much space that is your responsibility. And celebrate those small successes. That's the key thing with any beginner. Make them feel like they've achieved something. And the reality is they will have achieved something. It may not be something that a club player or a national team player would have achieved, but it is still something for that person. The last one, barrier 5, was all about where to learn. And this is where VolleySLIDE as a program tried to focus. There is so much that's possible now with the internet. Yeah, the internet offers so much possibility. This webinar, for example, the e-learning that we now do on the level 1 and level 2 course. And World ParaVolley has invested heavily in the coach education pathway. There is ultimately now something for everyone, whether you're a grassroots coach wanting to go into developing countries, start sitting volleyball, or if you're a national team coach, there is still something for you. Because everything on that pathway comes from VolleySLIDE. And this is where I'm going to do a little bit of a kind of explanation of what actually is there. So it is a branded educational program focused on getting people started. It's definitely a support mechanism for confidence. That's one of the biggest things I learned. There's so many people that would write to me and just say, I'm thinking about doing this. Is it okay? Yes, give it a try. Until you've done it, you don't know how well it works. And VolleySLIDE is very much the level 0 of kind of all different aspects of the World ParaVolley workforce pathway. So it covers coaching, yes, but it also covers refereeing, classification, and technical official work as well. And this is where it sits. This is the diagram that's on the World ParaVolley website. So you can see that there's that intro concept for all 4 aspects of workforce development, and VolleySLIDE there sits underneath all of them. There is a dominance towards coaching. Yeah, it's very hard to put a number on it, but there is definitely more in VolleySLIDE around coaching than the others, but we do definitely make sure that all are covered. Because the reality is, this is our sport continuum. We're going from people that just sit down and give it a little bit of a try, right through to full-blown events with teams, rules, referees, etc. We are trying to support coaches, whether they want to focus on the left-hand side with people just trying it in different locations, right the way through to people on the right. And the new coach education pathway is there. We've got VolleySLIDE followed by level 1, level 2, and then we will be launching a mentoring program at some point later this year. In terms of what VolleySLIDE offers, so there are e-learning courses, there are coaching cards, there are promotional and educational posters, there's a team systems document all about how you can kind of change your team system to simplify things. There are some technical videos. There is a practical workshop template. So if you want to deliver a session in your region, there is a template there with slides and lesson plans that you can just pick up and use. There are some blogs, and then there is the Getting Started case study. So that was one of the first things I did, just to really document what we did over in Great Britain. And all of it's for free. And this is something that I'm quite proud about. We've never charged for anything for VolleySLIDE. The aim of it was that there was that kind of support mechanism, that learning opportunity for coaches to pick up and learn more about sitting volleyball. I'm not going to read through all these slides, but there is a little bit of an overview now of each of those things. So this is the VolleySLIDE e-learning course. It's a few hours. It's a really good overview of the sport. I would say it's very good, I guess. Bit biased, but yeah, really good overview of the sport. We've tried to make it as visual as possible. We quickly realized that one of the other barriers was finding players. So as I said earlier, one of the biggest challenges for people is finding players. And this is a course that we pulled together based on demand, really. There were a lot of people saying that I've got some physiotherapists. They need to know the basics, but they don't need to know everything that's on VolleySLIDE. They just need to know the bit around what kind of players are suited to the game, what kind of talent could potentially be relevant for sitting volleyball. So we've made this kind of condensed 1-hour course, which is all around player recruitment. So for example, if you run a club, but you are linked with a community club or a medical facility, the physiotherapist may be there. If you can get them to do this course, it will help them understand what kind of players are most suited to sitting volleyball. And we're talking more about obviously the potentially disabled elite end of sitting volleyball. But yeah, that player recruitment thing was a big challenge. So the idea was that this course would help address that. We've then got the coaching cards. So this is kind of prior to e-learning, what existed. Available in a variety of languages. There's a full resource and short resource. We've got these graphics focusing on the differences from volleyball. So there's some posters, kind of graphic things that you could use just to educate, promote, raise awareness, etc. Again, there's translations available of those. There's the team systems kind of project. This one is kind of more towards club and yeah, national teams that are kind of just getting started. So it talks through different systems that you could use and the reasons why you may choose that one or may choose to go a different way. There are the in-focus videos. So these are the technical videos. There's a video that exists for each of those 6 aspects of the game, showing some examples, talking through kind of key teaching points. There's also one on movement. Movement for me is the most fun and also challenging part of the game. It is so different to anything you've done before. Any person who's done volleyball that sits down, we kind of know what they're going to do. They're going to roll around because they forget they have to move with their arms. So we thought we'd add movement in. I'm now just going to show a quick video of movement in action. Robin's just realized. This is a video that Robin sent me. This is a scenario I've been in, not quite with this many people, Robin, but just have a quick watch. This is Robin starting to get people moving on the floor. Okay, that for me is a classic because that's one of the first things we've got to do. We've got to get people moving, and that only happens with hands on the floor. So thanks, Robin, for recording that. I'm sure it's a scenario you've been in lots of times. It's an essential part of getting people to understand if you don't use your hands, you are going to stay in the same place. And then if the ball doesn't come to you, obviously it's a problem. There's a workshop template, like I said. Reality is now we've got this team of tutors. So if you've got a group of people that you'd like to do a workshop with, but you're not confident enough maybe to give it a go yourself, or you'd rather bring someone in, we do have a team of tutors who we can try and kind of pick one that is relevant, suitable, geography-wise, language-wise, to come and do that for you. We've got these written blogs. Always looking for more people to write blogs. If anyone's got a topic that they would like a blog about, or if they're happy to write a blog, do let me know. And then there's that case study. There's that young guy on the right, which today I don't totally recognize, but I do vaguely remember. This was me just writing down what we did, what worked, what didn't work. And quite often I do have to go back to it. And I'm really glad I spent the time writing it down. It wasn't smooth, it wasn't easy, but the reality was it taught me so much. And some of that is relevant at different times in the stuff I'm doing now. And this kind of leads me to do the full circle. We're right back to where we started, because one of the most exciting things for me about what we're moving into is we're starting to help people in kind of developing countries. And I mean developing in the sense of sitting volleyball. So based off what we did with Let's Keep the Ball Flying, we are trying to start investing in effort and money in countries who are either just starting or have got some interest in starting. And what we're looking to do is link our coach tutors to these non-member nations, these non-active nations. And the idea is that over a bit of time, those coach tutors will do some research, they will do some meet and kind of virtually get to know and support and guide. Then the idea is that we find a way to get the coach tutor to go and run clinics, a bit like John is doing in Belize at the moment. And then there's that ongoing support. So essentially there would be a country with a coach tutor as a bit of a kind of guide, a sounding board, a bit of a consultant to kind of, you know, help them, push them, etc. And this is where I'm quite excited that we're starting to focus, because yes, it'll be amazing when we get all of our coaches qualified, and that'll be an amazing achievement, and hopefully we've raised the level of each one of them. But the real challenge is, can we get more countries playing? That's kind of the big thing that does drive me. Can we get it so that that map is even more green in 2 years, 5 years from now? So key takeaways: be creative. That's definitely one. Be creative with what you've got. Take a guess, take a gamble, go for it, try it. Focus on the fun. Yeah, absolutely focus on the fun. If something works and people are enjoying it, do it again. Yeah, if you can tell by their faces it's not working, try something different. Focus on the fun. The most important thing, if we want people to kind of commit to our sport, is that they enjoy it. Let the players play. Absolutely, let the players play. They are players. They want to play. They want to have fun. Do explain the why. Yeah, there's a lot of people that need to know the why. It kind of helps them understand it, helps them process it. Use what is around you. So if ever you're looking to develop some sitting volleyball, make sure you're using, what you have, whether that's a potential source of players or whether that's a suitable place to play, whether it's some volleyball coaches that just need to understand the differences. Definitely use what there is around you, and remove barriers. Don't add them. And this is a big kind of bugbear of mine, the kind of rules that you don't need, or the kind of, we can't do that because, is there really a reason why we can't do it? So yeah, try not to add any barriers. Definitely do that, and where possible, try and remove the barriers. And ultimately, just like we've said before, let the game teach the game. So that's it from me. I've tried to be a little bit general. I'm very, very aware we've got quite a wide range of experience on the call, and it's great to have everyone here. We've got a little bit of an overview about VolleySLIDE. So if you've got any questions now, I'll hand back to Dave. It can be about VolleySLIDE, the program. It can be about our thoughts. We can also obviously utilize John's experience, and anyone else that is happy to share as well. So Dave, back to you.
Thank you very much, Matt, and thank you very much, John, as well. Hopefully you will feel a little bit more informed after that, but this is your opportunity to ask these guys literally anything you want. I've got a few questions, but mine will be sort of more general, I think. So if anybody wants to know anything, if you use the hand raising feature at the top of your screen, and then we can unmute you and you can have a conversation with Matt and John. So would anybody like to kick us off with the Q&A?
They could also type, Dave. Happy for them to type.
Yeah. You can type. We'll go in the chat. I tell you what, Matt. We'll start with a couple of my questions because that might loosen people off. Nobody wants to go first, do they? So, so a lot of your work is involved in getting people involved for the very first time, and that is very cool. So can you just give us a little bit more detail on effective ways to actually introduce sitting volleyball at grassroots or a school, maybe where volleyball is already popular and they're already playing? How do you get people involved, either the current players and giving them the opportunity to play a more inclusive sport, or the people who might think, oh, volleyball isn't for me in any capacity?
I mean, the way I generally approach it is make best of what you've got in the area. Make sure you've got a kind of wide range of volleyballs so that you've got something that would suit potentially different people and different expectations over the challenge that it would be. Some people just like sitting and kind of volleying. They don't really want to do anything else. Others want to go straight into a game. So it really is a balance between what does the group want, but also looking at all those individual needs. The big thing, and this was obviously in the slides, is I just try and get them playing as fast as possible. And this is something that John always tells me. He always tells me that I'm too slow to get them playing, and I'm already trying to be really fast. So I think the challenge here is how do we quickly get them playing, but at the same time tell them enough, but also know that you can obviously you can go back and add more. So yeah, I know key thing is get them playing, have fun. Reality is they've got to know something. They've got to know a few bits of how to move, what to expect, those kind of, not all the rules, but the kind of basic thing. You've got 3 touches, maybe they don't even know that. I've done it quite a few times, but I know that John has done it thousands of times. So John, are you able to unmute and tell me what would be your approach to walking into a room and a group of people, maybe a bit like you've done in Belize, and how would you go from that moment to them all smiling and having fun?
I think you've summarized it pretty well, Matt. I mean, it's just, I want the group here in Belize to understand that sitting volleyball is this #1 Paralympic experience. And we do exactly what we saw Robin do. They move for about a minute, we spike, we torque serve, and then we play. And that whole before they play is probably only taking less than 10 minutes, possibly even 5. Although today we did do a reminder of some of the other facts and uniquenesses about volleyball, sitting volleyball, that there's pro leagues in Bosnia, that the second tallest human being in the world is a sitting volleyball player, an MVP from Rio, and just some of the facts. But when non-volleyball players play sitting, they just get leveled so wonderfully that they have this joy and this, like you said, the smiles per hour is huge. And it's not just the athletes and coaches like I'm lucky to have here in Belize. When I get wounded veterans onto the court, the physical therapist says, as they're playing out there, that's the first time I've seen them smile since they came back with their injury. And that's the first time I've seen him or her laugh out loud since they've come back. So there's that, uniqueness of the play that just happens organically when we play a sitting game where everybody is kind of leveled out. Like, I think I just told the group here how the Dutch used to have 4,000 members in their sitting program, and 3,500 of them were able-bodied. They just wanted to play sitting and not rack up their knees and their ankles and play with their friends. So my group here has got to go. It's been great. I'll look at the chat messages, but thanks so much, you guys, for everything you've done today.
Thanks very
Brilliant.
much,
Thanks,
John.
John.
We appreciate your time. Thanks, Belize. Bye. It's interesting, Matt, John talking about sitting being a leveler there. I remember years ago in the build-up to the 2012 Olympics and Paralympics, where the men's standing team played the men's sitting team, and they thought, oh, we're gonna wallop these guys, and they got absolutely tucked in by the sitting team. Of course they did, but that is the beauty of it, isn't it? It's an inclusive sport, but the more you play, the better you get. All right, we've still got a good few here. Has anyone got any questions for Matt? Quark needs to go. Everyone said their alarms for an hour by the looks of things. Thanks very much for joining us, Quark. Great stuff. All right, well, Matt, if people are heading off, can you just remind everybody that all those excellent tools that you said were available, can you just remind everybody of where they can get those from?
Absolutely, yeah. So it started off as an independent thing, but now everything is on that World ParaVolley website. So if you go to the World ParaVolley site, you can then press development, and then within that is all the information around the coach education pathway, and also there is the kind of VolleySLIDE area, which has one central page, and then you can go straight into whatever it is you're looking for. So it's all there. We are gradually moving kind of everything we're looking to do with coaches across to the ParaVolley system, the e-learning system. By being on this call, you have an account on there, because that's how you got the link. So yeah, that very much is the community we're trying to drive moving forwards. So yeah, it's all there, and I absolutely love seeing different elements of VolleySLIDE appearing in different places. Yeah, really does make it all worthwhile.
And for those who've already accessed those, is there going to be anything new available resource-wise?
So we're working on a video equivalent to the differences graphics. That is something that is it's actually kind of been requested from the FIVB. The aim here is that they will include that on all their FIVB coaching courses. That's kind of my driver. If we can get it so that every FIVB coaching course has an element of sitting, and there are some videos that demonstrate the rule differences, technical differences, tactical differences, I think that can be a massive advantage to the sport. So that's the kind of thing that's coming up, along with that activation project for new countries. I see we've got a hand up.
Oh, we do have a hand up. I'm going to be honest with you, everyone.
We do.
I already knew the answer to that question that I asked Matt just then. Hang on. No, have I lowered my hand? No, I've put my hand up. Robin, hello. Great to have you here. Can you turn your camera on so we can see you and unmute your mic, please?
He is. He's got it on. I can see him.
Can you hear me as well?
You see him, Dave?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear, Robin.
There we go.
Go ahead.
Excellent. Okay. I just wanted to ask something about the growing the game in new countries part of your story. I was just wondering, do you have, as World ParaVolley, do you have any idea of countries that have shown interest in starting sitting volleyball but haven't started yet? Are there any, do you have like a database of, for example, I mean, Belgium has hardly any sitting volleyball right now. They don't have any national program. It's easy for me to go there from the Netherlands. So that's something, if World ParaVolley already has an idea of countries that might have shown interest or are interested in starting and already have some context as well, it's going to be easier to choose where to go, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a list that exists of countries that have shown interest. The reality is that all of our communications are either done direct to members or through social media. So direct to members, we send it to the people that are members. Absolutely, they get everything. But you've also got then the social media that can be picked up by anyone, and that's why it's important we do both of those. The list that exists of non-members who are active is, I wouldn't say it's completely up to date. There are emails that come in at different times. Trinidad and Tobago, we had one recently. There's something from Mexico. So there are countries that kind of reach out. There is also, when you look at the analytics of the VolleySLIDE part, there are sometimes some countries on there that you can see kind of hot spells of people in certain countries going maybe to that page or to that thing a little bit more frequently. We don't obviously have their contact details, but we do know that they are located in a certain country and interested. So there's going to be a lot of factors that come into which countries we look to do. The reality is we want the program to grow so that it will start small, and it's not going to be every country that we go to is going to become a member in the next few years. And the hope is that the kind of coach tutors, yourself in Belgium is quite a good example, that maybe we can find a way that kind of happens as a kind of side effect, if you know what I mean. Like, there will be some that, yes, World ParaVolley is spending time and effort on, but if we can get to others through different mechanisms, because we've got the systems in place, we've got the people with the knowledge, you know, that's even better. So the aim is that it's just the start, and we start to shift our focus towards new countries. The challenge is, if you take your eye off the ones that are already active, you don't want them to fall away. You know, one of the biggest things that you've got to make sure if you want to grow is you've got to keep what you've got. So we don't want to turn attention away from the members, because we don't want them to stop, but at the same time we also want more members. So it's quite a difficult balance to hit. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Robin. And I think one of the certainly one of the messages that I'll take away from this, Matt, is that even though you've talked about all of the things that are available online to help people are accessible, aren't they? And if people have any questions, any queries, not just tonight but moving forward, if you wanted to extend your current group, or if you wanted to introduce it to a new club, or as Robin suggested, a new country, there are people you can reach out to who will do everything they can to help you to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And that the coaches at worldparavolley.org, I get all sorts that come in there. A coach that wants to do a level 2 course through to a coach in a new country who wants to find a place he can buy volleyballs. You know, that address is very much a central point, and I then lean and hopefully find a solution and assistance for any request that comes in. So
Perfect.
yeah, definitely.
Okay, any more hands up? Last chance to dance. No. Well, I tell you what, Matt.
Yes.
I don't know if Agnes is trying.
Are you trying, Agnes? If you've got something to say it right now. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, we've got a hand up. She found the button.
Yes, Agnes, the floor is yours.
How are you, Tutor Martin Rogers?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Thank you. I'm Agnes Masalange from Kenya.
Hi, Agnes. Lovely to talk to you.
I trained my level 1 coaching course in Thailand, Bangkok. My tutor was Waipin and Ali.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I only want just to say one barrier. According to, by women, there is a very big discrimination. You know, when you are a woman, you want to coach men really resist, especially in Africa. Or when you want to coach men, the ones who wants to be the head coaches, but they want us women to be either the assistant coach, or maybe just a person helping them. They cannot recognize us as being the coaches. So that is one of the barriers, as Tutor Martin was saying. Those are the barriers that women we are passing through. But according to me, I can do better even than men who are there, but they really resist about us. And in Africa, especially in Kenya, now we are hosting African Championship.
Yeah.
But the materials, equipments, and venue, the way Tutor Martin has said, is a very big problem to us. Especially in Kenya, they have not considered the disability players to have a very good playing area or venue. We just mix with the standing volleyball. They give them priority, the standing volleyball than sitting volleyball. Even they cannot consider to buy for them mat. Instead, we just borrow the mat for the standing volleyball is when we can use. You get that we cannot have good and suitable in equipments for them. We only make them from the standing volleyball. We just adjust to suit the sitting volleyball court. So those are the many barriers that that are hindering sitting volleyball to progress, especially in Africa and especially in Kenya. You see, like in Africa, we have coaches. In Uganda, we doesn't have teams for sitting volleyball. In Tanzania, we don't have teams. The only teams that are participating in Africa mostly is Rwanda and Kenya.
Yeah.
Nigeria had confirmed that they are coming. Today, they say they are not coming. You see, especially women, the ParaVolley is very low. And it is not even in schools. We only just go and get these already grown up people just from the streets just to come and trade them. And the interest is very low because they see, what am I gaining from here? From here, I'm just going back home, then there is nothing I'm getting. So it is very hard or difficult to convince them to come and play. But we are trying, especially being the woman, I'm trying. And I'm very happy and very thankful to Tutor Roger Martins for identifying me through online to know that I'm a level 1 coach. And I know through you, I'll be a very, very good tutor one day, or a very, very good coach one day. I'll really follow these online until I'll see that I'll have to make ParaVolleyball B in Kenya. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Agnes. So lovely to hear. Yeah, lovely to hear all of that. We're doing quite a lot in Africa. The reality is the barriers you talk about, they exist everywhere. Even the kind of lack of female coaches, it's a target at the moment for IPC across all Paralympic sports to try and bring more female coaches in. It should be a case of, the best coach gets the job. That is absolutely the way it should work. But we do know that in some countries and different cultures, it isn't like that. So yeah, it's something we've got to work at. We do have, I'm trying to count now, I think it's 3 female tutors. It's not enough. We definitely want more tutors. So yeah, maybe one day you can join us as a ParaVolley tutor. But yeah, thank you for your time this evening. Lovely to be connected. There's lots happening, so there's lots for you to get involved with. So yeah, thank you, Agnes.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
It's funny though, isn't it? It's something that isn't just an issue in sitting volleyball, even at the elite level at the moment. I'm thinking about in the Paralympics, was Nicole Ban the only female coach?
I think there was China women as well. There was only 2 from memory.
Yes.
So yeah, 2 out of the 16.
And in indoor volleyball at the moment, in the VNL, it's only Bulgaria women. Antonina Zetova is their coach, and so you've got 18 of the world's best teams in women's indoor volleyball, and only 1 female coach. So, Agnes, stick at it. You're doing a wonderful job, and we really appreciate you joining us this evening. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Akira, one of our tutors has put their hand up. One of our female tutors.
Yes.
Akira, take it away.
Okay, hello, good evening. I just want to appreciate the good work you are doing, and it's been very, very inspiring and very exciting. From what we have seen, we have learned a lot from the slides and from the explanation here today. We have seen how it's very easy to get into the community and then impact knowledge, and how we can get more players and coaches and all of that. So it's a very good one. And as my colleague in Kenya said, it's very difficult for women. They are not giving women chances. Even though I tried during the course we did in Nigeria, we had some 5 coaches, and then team head coach and also the technical director, but a lot of challenges. But I have been trying in the terms of equipment as well. I just want to talk to my sister, you can locally make a mat, just like the ones we do in Nigeria here with a trampoline. We just mark the court, we sew it, and then we place it in the hall or any area of the outdoor so that we can easily have a game to play. So you mustn't wait to have the right facility, but it's easier to start. Then you can find maybe some support somewhere. So don't just wait. We have to move. We have to stand up and develop people. There's a lot of players in schools, universities, secondary school, primary school. Anywhere I go, I tell people boldly that even able, the game doesn't restrict anybody. Just come and play. So from there, people get excited about it. And then you can easily attract others to come in easily. So I want to thank all of our instructors who have done so well to develop us very well to this level. Thank you so much.
Here. Thank you, Akira.
Yeah, very wise words. Come and play. get them playing. You know, those messages are so true. The reality is that the sport is good. Yeah, we need to use the sport. The sport is the biggest thing, the biggest asset, and we've got to make sure we use it. Get them playing early. So yeah, thank you, Agira.
Excellent. Right then, I think that's probably a good place to call it there, Matt. I will leave you have the final word, but before that, I'd like to remind you all, if you've not already signed up, there is another session this time next week, and that'll be coaching different disabilities, and that is with Ivan, who is somebody that Matt spoke about in very glowing terms during his presentation earlier. Same time, same place. Matt, you've done a wonderful job this evening, so I will leave you, say goodbye to everyone and give you the final words.
Brilliant. Thanks, Dave. Thanks very much. I do hope you can join next week. Ask him how to explain the flavour of strawberry. Please, someone do ask him that. It's a quote that he said to me, kind of just off the cuff, and I've used it now for nearly 10 years. So, yeah, when it comes to the questions at the end, someone ask him to describe the flavour of strawberry. Yeah, thank you very much. This is it's there, it's grassroots, and it's going to be available for people to watch if they want to understand more about VolleySLIDE. Grassroots development for me is kind of the most important bit if we're going to truly develop the game. We've got some amazing countries doing some amazing things, but what we really need as a sport is more countries. So yeah, that very much is the focus. So thank you for your time. It's really appreciated, and I look forward to talking to you all another time. Thanks very much. Have a good evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are in the world.
Tutor Matt, I was requesting, how can we get those notes that you have been teaching us? Because we were writing, but not all of them.
They will be available on ParaVolley. So I will put the whole thing on there in the next 5 minutes. So if you go into there, you should see them. And if you can't find them, just write to me on coaches@worldparavolley.org, where we emailed before, and I will send them to you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm just going to put that email address in the chat. If that's coaches@worldparavolley.org, that's in the chat.
.org. Yeah, that's the one.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you, everyone. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.